Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. What's going on, brother?
I love that intro. I still love it.
I know you do. Every time I change it up, I can see a little tear in your eye. So it makes it fun.
Yeah.
So, Tim, you had a topic that you wanted to throw on the table before we hit record. We were riffing on it for a little while because it's something we see with a lot of men that we get a chance to talk to. And so we wanted to record this episode just to give other guys some helpful hints.
Yeah. And Doug, right, before we dive into this in a second, I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Stephen Shade. Stephen joined the program today, as many men do. But Stephen's been listening to the podcast for a long time. And when I spoke with him, he's like, Tim, it's like you're a celebrity. Wow, I'm speaking to you. I'm like,
oh, no.
Okay.
No.
But it's really great to just hear from guys that are listening and tuning in and applying as well. And then reaching out and taking it a step further. So I just want to commend Stephen. You did a great thing today, my friend. I really am excited to work with you over the next 3 or 4 months. So kudos to you, brother. I know it's easier to sit on the fence sometimes. You took action, so kudos to you. I know you're going to be listening to this. So yeah, let's dive in then. So what I really want to cover today, Doug, and it's a mistake that is so easy to make. It's a mistake that I have made in the past, and sometimes, quite honestly, I still make because, as business owners, I think it's very easy to slip into a pattern where we think we're doing enough because we are providing financially, right? We're out there, we are smashing through things in business, we're making money, we are providing the home, the holiday, the cars, the bigger home, the bigger holidays, the bigger cars. And it's very easy to slip into that cycle of thinking, well, I'm doing my job, right? And this is what trips a lot of guys up, because guys then get a little bit confused when the wife says to them that she's unhappy, or she's going to hand the divorce papers, or those different ways in which the cracks start to appear in the dam. And for most guys, they miss the warning signs, don't they? Because it's easy to forget as well that women and men communicate very differently. As guys, we make a decision, we jump, and we figure shit out as we fall in. Women do it the opposite. They tend to figure everything out before they even raise a question. So if you've ever been in a position where your wife has expressed dissatisfaction and said, I'm unhappy, it means she's been unhappy, very unhappy, for a lot longer than she's making out. One guy today was sleeping on the couch because his wife has had an emotional affair and she's become very distant. And the likelihood is that she's been feeling very isolated in her own life for a very long time. So anyway, point being is the trap that I think we get sucked into as businessmen is thinking we do enough to provide financially. But for the women in our lives, they need to be provided for emotionally before financially. They're the hierarchy of needs, if you will, for them. Now, how can you, as a business owner, if you find yourself in this position, you're going out there, you're slaying the dragon every day in business, but it doesn't seem to be making a difference in your relationship. In fact, it's maybe even driving you and your wife further apart, and you're in a position where you're confused because you think you're doing all the right things. You're then frustrated and annoyed at her because she's not giving you the admiration and the respect that you deserve because of the risks that you're taking at work every day. How do you bridge that gap? Well, there's something that is usually going on here that is going underneath the radar. Now, on the left-hand side, let's just imagine for a second you've got you. You as the man, as the husband, you're here on the left-hand side. Your wife's here on the right-hand side. Now, in the middle of you two, you've got your relationship, as you know all too well, Doug, right? So it's kind of like the third entity as you describe it, right?
Yep.
In order for this third entity up here to be able to flourish, which is you and your wife together, right? You've both got to be making deposits into it. So just imagine this in the middle. as a high interest bank account, right? That can compound very quickly, right? It's a very volatile bank account because it can crash really quickly too. And you've got to be making deposits in it regularly in order for there to be a balance in there and for something to build up that you can then withdraw. Now, women can often feel like they are making deposits by looking after the kids and cooking the kids dinner and putting the kids to bed before you get home from work so you can have the evening together. Many different examples that women believe that they are fulfilling their role. Now, guys, we think that we're fulfilling our role because we are going to work, and we think by investing in business, we're investing in the relationship. But it's often not seen that way because for the most part, the business is our dream. It's our thing, and that's okay, right? So in actual fact, if all you're doing, or if most of what you're doing is focusing on business and forgetting this middle entity of the high interest compound bank account of the relationship, and you're not making deposits in it, your wife can start to feel resentment, right? And this is where the arguments then come in. You walk in through the door in an evening after winning your biggest deal in business, and your wife's like, "Why don't you take the bins out today?" Like, you crazy? I've just landed a 6-figure deal. What's wrong with you? This is where you get all those, a lot more tests, right? And this is another reason why therapy and marriage counseling tend to drive couples further apart, because the woman often feels like she's depositing in the account. She's living up to her side. So then going to therapy is an aggravator for her. And then she'll get everything off her chest. You get sucked into this tennis match of going back and forth trying to win the therapist over. Now, the insight here, the little mini shift that you might want to consider is, okay, I'm investing in my business. I didn't realize there was this third entity, this bank account of the relationship. And I've been coming home and I've been trying to withdraw from the relationship by asking for sex or communicating my needs and what I need my wife to do for me. And the account's overdrawn at that point in time. And what happened if you tried to go to your bank account, your actual bank account, and make a withdrawal if there was nothing in it? You wouldn't be able to do it, would you? Because there'd be nothing in it. Sounds obvious. But it's the same thing with your relationship. If you're not making deposits into that account, like forget business aside, if you took business out of the equation, what deposits are you making in the account? Now, you might be making loads. I don't know. I'm just going off a common pattern that we see. But if you're not making any deposits outside of business into that account, then you can't really expect to make any withdrawals. And if you keep trying to make withdrawals, the bank account is probably going to get shut down because you're going to get in arrears. And it's not a good place to be. So, Doug, what do you think? I've been riffing a little bit. I just wanted to paint the picture there.
I'm letting you go. You're doing well. Yeah. I mean, it's a situation. I mean, frankly, it's a situation I've been in, right? And I would say for me, myself, I've been in this situation early in my relationship with my wife currently, and plus other long-term relationships, where it's not that the account has a zero balance, but it's you're in overdraft, right? You're in the overdraft phase where you've overdrafted too much, probably unknowingly, at least in my case, unknowingly have done so. And because my wife has loved me so much, she's willing to stick it out during that time, right? And a lot of the men, it's the same way. And so when we look at this is, to use the idea, like you said, the high interest bank account, there is a flip side to this, right? There's a flip side coming out of that. And that's where I'm in now. And Tim, you probably are too. And some of the guys may be listening, but I would say most not, is where you've put so much money, deposits in those accounts, that account becomes ultra stable, right? It can withstand any, anything, whether it be COVID-19 attacking or whatever financial or emotional distress puts on your relationship, it's a strong and stable relationship. And what that gives us as men is the ability to leap. We can go higher. We can go higher in our work. We can go higher in our personal development and everything else that we're doing. The problem I think that I'm seeing, Tim, and certainly what I was in, is you have that third entity, and you come home after kicking some major, butt in business, and you've landed the contract. Maybe you've gotten your second business off, and now you've got some serious income coming in, right? And this is the vision we had of when I get that new car, the new house, I buy that 100 acres of land, whatever it is for you, then I can cruise and everything will be great. Then you go home and you try to celebrate with your partner, right? You try to really share, your wins. You feel like you're the king and you've gone to battle, and she puts you down and you react. And the reason is you haven't put the deposits within yourself. Your own bank account is bankrupt, right? You haven't put the deposits in you, so you're no longer stable either. And so now you have yourself as empty, and you turn to business because that's easy, right? At least it is for most of us. And you turn to business, and the relationship itself is empty. You're empty. And so I think men start filling themselves up with porn, with alcohol, with drugs, or sedation of just binge watching, Tiger King or Netflix, right? It's just a way to escape the world until it gets better. And that's not an investment strategy financially or in your relationship that's worthwhile, right? You can't just let it go on autopilot. It just does not work. It doesn't work. And so if what happens is, for a lot of guys, is your partner starts to grow distant, right? Your partner starts to grow distant, and she's either going to find consult in another man, or maybe it's her girlfriend's, right? If you're lucky, it's her girlfriend's. But either way, it's not you. And if you are having sex, it's really just masturbation with another person, right? You're not really making love, intimate, passionate sex, or at least not as much as you want to. So there is a way out of this situation, as you know, Tim, and the guys want to go. So why don't we talk about a few of those actual solutions where the guys can see the other side of this?
I think on that note, I think the big distinction here is, instead of trying to make withdrawals from an account that's running empty, you've got to start making investments. And you've got to start making investments in yourself, first and foremost. And then also unconditional investments into the account, right? It's kind of like your kids. You love your kids unconditionally. You may like them more times than others, but you love them unconditionally. You don't love them based upon the condition that they love you back. And it's the same thing with the bank account. You've got to then change your mind from, it's almost like adopting the identity of an investor, right? And you're going to invest in yourself and invest in the bank account without it being conditional on the return that you're going to get. It's slightly different than most investing per se, but I think it's the first possibility, Doug, is it's a shift in mindset. If you're doing this and if you're in this cycle, then I think the first way to get out of this is becoming aware and making a commitment to shift your mindset.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the financial markets, we've worked with some of the top, financial investors in the world. And we've had the pleasure between the two of us of coaching and working with them, which has been awesome. They invest in every market. The market's up and it's bullish, they're investing. If it's an extremely bear market, they're investing, right? They're always investing. Now, they might change their strategy to invest, but they're always investing, and they're not investing from a place of scarcity. The same thing happens to do with your relationship, right? As the man, again, what happens often, and it's happened to me, right, is you go in with that, I just conquered and kicked some major butt, and then you face your woman. And look, guys, if you're a strong guy, you probably married a strong woman, right? And she knows what buttons to push to see if you're stable or not. She's going to give you a gentle push, emotionally or verbally, and we fall back, right? We're not stable within ourselves. So as much as we want to be making emotional deposits in our third entity, the relationship, right? You have yourself, her, and the third entity, which is the relationship. You also got to make deposits in yourself, because you can't over withdraw from yourself, which is the cycle, Tim, I found myself in, right? I would do for everybody else. I'd help out my friends. I'd help out the business. I would help out my partners. I would help out my wife, everybody else. And then Doug was last, right? I had it backwards. And when you have it backwards, you can't make emotional deposits into your partner, right? Because you have nothing to give. And then you're expecting your partner to fill you up, right? You're expecting her to be making deposits into not only the relationship, but into you as a man. And that's not sexy. It's not sexy for anybody. And it's just a downward spiral. So here are a couple things you can do here to get yourself out of this situation and change it from the arguments that are inevitably going to happen out of this scenario to actually having fun in bed, right? Because that's what a lot of us want. We want to be able to come home from work, have our wife just desire us like nobody's business, and have great sex, right? It's an amazing thing. So here are a couple things, Tim, maybe you and I can go back and forth on them, what you can do. The first one is, make a list of how you can make deposits into your own account. How can you serve yourself? How can you show yourself self-love? And what I mean by self-love is it just watching porn and going to the bathroom or whatever you want to do? What I mean by self-love is doing things that fill you up. Right? Probably things you did, in your 20s or even as a kid, right? What'd you love to do? Doing some of those things, going to the gym, taking care of your health, maybe a run, a walk in the woods, going through nature, right? Going and getting a massage, going and taking care of yourself. Maybe it's just making sure you have a guys' night every single week. You're going to go meet with a bunch of guys and do something. What is it that fills your soul and fills your cup and is not sedation, right? So let's not just say drinking by yourself, watching guys' movies, although that's okay every once in a while. But what is it that you can do that truly makes you happy? And I want you to make a list of those things. And if you can't come up with 20 things, right? And most guys can't, by the way, that's going to be telling. That's going to be telling. If you can't come up with 20 things that you're going to love to do for yourself, now we have a bigger issue, right? And don't worry, it's not a judgment thing. A lot of guys are in that situation because we've spent so much time providing for everybody else. But you want to look at those 20 things and now start putting those in your calendar.
I love it. It segues nicely into what I was going through with the guys in the Brotherhood yesterday. We're going in Nurture and Flow, and one of the exercises I got them to do, which I think you guys could do, is I want you to take out a piece of paper and next to the list that Doug's got you to create, and this will feed into it. I want you to draw a line down the middle, and on the left-hand side, I want you to write fuck yes. F yes. Big F-U-C-K yes. And on the right-hand side, I want you to write hell no with an exclamation mark. Hell no. Now, I want you to take inventory because everything in your life is either going to charge you up or drain you down. Nothing has a neutral effect, right? And in order for you to be able to invest into the emotional bank, the relationship, right, and have that be compounding, by which will overflow into you walking through the door in an evening and your wife being excited to see you, and you're having the energy to play with your kids and have dinner with your wife and flirt and laugh and play and go to bed together and get in bed and have her actually turn to you instead of turning away from you, then you've got to be full, like Doug was saying. So in this list, I want you to write down all of the things that are currently in your life, people, relationships, places that you go, and things that you do, cars that you drive. It could be projects, anything. Just loosely categorize it into people, places, things. And I want you to put those into either the left-hand list, which is fuck yes, or the right-hand list of hell no. And there's going to be some tough decisions for you to make here because you're probably going to feel guilty as you're doing this. And that's normal and that's okay. And I want to let you know that there's no guilt around this. You don't have to feel guilty for choosing yourself, which if you do feel guilty is a great piece of feedback in itself because you're basically feeling guilty for giving yourself what you actually want, which if you're not going to give yourself what you want, how can you then expect to have a relationship that's overflowing? It's just not possible because you're showing up to the relationship empty with nothing to give. So I That's a super simple exercise you could do. Obviously, if you're listening to the podcast and you're driving, don't just do it right now. Pull over. Pull over
Don't kill
now
yourself.
and do it. Control yourself. But yeah, I think that'd be a great starting point because then you're going to get some feedback on what actually fills you up, what drains you, and then you can get rid of the things that drain you. Some things you'll be able to get rid of quicker than others. And focus a lot more on the things that fill you up. And as you start to make deposits into yourself, what you're more than likely going to find is you're naturally going to want to make more deposits into the relationship. And when you start making more deposits there without withdrawing and without investing because you're going to get a certain rate of interest, watch what starts to happen. More than likely, you're going to go from arguing 3 times a week, like we've said, to having sex. Who knows? Maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week. You won't be counting when you're in that place. It won't be a numerical thing for you in that place.
You'd be hydrating. Where you get electrolytes, guys. That's where you get your electrolytes in you. That's a fantastic thing. So number three, and we've heard us talk about this if you've been following the podcast, is, know your love languages, right? There's 5 love languages. I love that process through the book. You can pick the book up, but you want to know, one, what is your love language, right? How do you, usually the way that you receive love is how you give it, right? And so see if I can remember those 5 love languages, and Tim, jump in if I can't remember. 1 is gifts, 2, acts of service, right? 3 is touch, right? 4 is affirmations, and 5 is
quality time.
Quality time. Thank you. That's my last one. Funny. So those are the 5. But what's your wife's? What's your spouse's love language? So what happens a lot is, as guys, like my love language is acts of service, right? So when I want to show love, I do something for somebody, and that's how I receive it. My wife's is quality time, which is almost the last on my list, right? It's not that I don't like hanging out with people. It's just when I show and receive love, I've either been trained, conditioned, or what have you as a kid, is you do something for somebody. So when I come home and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm going to make that emotional deposit into the account. All right, Doug. All right, cool. I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to change the oil in my wife's car. I'm going to, I'm going to go get her a gift, right? I'm going to go get her a beautiful piece of jewelry. And then I'm going to, do whatever it is. Really what happens is she's just like, oh, that's nice. Thanks for doing the dishes. And she walks on, and I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. I just did, I spent hours cleaning this house, or I spent hours building, something for you. Like I built our son this huge play area, right? My wife, it's great, right? But it's not really, she doesn't receive it, right? I'm not speaking her language. It's almost like if I were to go to Japan right now and I can't speak Japanese, and I was walking around talking to everybody and nobody else spoke English, then I wouldn't be able to communicate, right? I wouldn't be able to get my point across. I wouldn't be able to get what I want out of it. And it's the same thing with love languages. Now, when I want to make emotional deposits into my wife's account, all I have to do is spend a little time with her. Now, it doesn't have to be a lot of time, 5 minutes. 5 minutes letting her talk, letting her empty out, and me listening, right? Validating as I listen, right? Not just repeating back what I'm hearing her say. So you don't want to be a robot and say, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, right? And repeat everything she says. That's not validation, right? Validation is we all have, right? We're guys. We want the manual. Let me just repeat exactly what you say. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say, Doug, is I need to get the 5 love languages and I need to fill this out. That's instructions. Validation to the love language is something totally different. And we can get that deeper into another podcast, but you want to make sure you're validating her. So for my wife and the quality time, if I validate her, regardless if I agree with what's going on, right? I may not agree with what she's saying, but I can validate her experience in that. Now I'm making huge deposits, right, into the emotional bank account, and to the point where the emotional bank account is overflown, right? We have so much, deposits in there that's so stable. It's amazing, right? We're both flowing into this account, and then I get what I want at the end of that. So what is your spouse's love language, and how can you make those deposits using that language? That's number 3.
Yeah. And I think the point I just want to reemphasize, guys, is the mistake I made in the past, and I'm sharing this in the hope that, it can help you to not make it, really, is I used to think I was making deposits by what I did in business. because I went into business, wanting to provide, right, for my partner and I. But that it wasn't in her eyes a deposit, because I was my business doing it for me, right? So again, the points that we mentioned here, just in summary, the first one, Doug, was making sure that you're able to invest in yourself, so putting your needs first. The second was then the list, F yes, hell no. The third was then understanding the love languages, so you understand the right deposit to put in, because you can't put Chinese yen into American bank account, can you? It's going to get rejected. Well, maybe not. So yeah, it's you don't want to find yourself in that position. I've invested $1 million yen, been like, what the? I've invested $1 million. I've put $1 million in. Why is it not registering? Well, it's the wrong currency. Same thing with the love languages. That's how they work.
Yen's Japanese, by the way, Tim. Not Chinese.
Chinese.
Chinese R&B.
Chinese, where I'm from. It's Chinese right now. Tomatoes. So, guys, yeah. Thank you for stopping by. Doug, obviously, the guys on the podcast, you don't know this, but we're live in the Facebook community as well right now, just sharing this. So I think let's stay on, do a little bit of a Q&A for those guys, because there's a few guys sharing. So we'll do that. So guys in the podcast, thank you for stopping by and listening. Doug, anything you want to finish with? The famous outro that you do so well?
Gentlemen, if any of this resonates with you and you'd like to get some more information on what we do to help guys just like you, go over to thealphareset.com. That's thealphareset.com. And I'm also going to invite you, if you haven't already, to join our Facebook community of men who are sharing information, jokes, laughter, but also coming up with strategies on how they can really reignite the passion in their lives and in their relationship with their spouse. So I'd love to see you over there. We're going to continue that conversation right now. Until next time, we'll see you on another episode of The Powerful Man Show.
Boom.